I just want to say something really quick about the teaching, like why some teachers do it like that. I think that what you say about the pendulum really makes it work. Like since most people are stuck way far to the side of like being in this world and being preoccupied about things and being worried. So they kind of like try to swing everybody back to like, okay, it's not all that's what's making you suffer and all that. And since most people are in that spectrum,
Yeah.
I think that's why they try to do that. If like in the world most people were stuck in that dysfunctional non-dual state, I guess maybe they would try to like swing it back the other way, like, oh, maybe try to make things
Yeah.
matter a little more and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a relative teaching
Yeah.
in that sense, and that pendulum analogy really makes it you know kind of clear.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I
my
agree with that.
question yeah my question was about the difference. You say mental and energetic a lot, like mental and energetic, like there's this difference between like life is magic, not logic, and this character seems to be really inclined towards the logic. And also, my English is not my first language, and I think you mentioned that like it is kind of hard, kind of like talking about such a deep topic in a different language.
Yeah.
So I would like some, like, maybe some more definitions on that difference between mental and energetic, or specifically energetic. Like, what do you mean by that word?
Energetic is that, what I mean is that, have you ever taken, well, you don't have to answer this before this actually online, but if you've ever taken hallucinogenics or any drugs for that matter, is on it often you have like very energetic experiences, like you can feel like you're out of the body. You might not remember who you are, like you can have really energetic experiences. Like when I was younger, I took a good amount of an hallucinogenic, which I'm not sure if I should say what that was. And I remember being really afraid before the first time I took it, because I thought that a monster would come out of me. But it didn't. That wasn't what happened. A monster didn't come out of me. What happened was that I felt lots of love. I felt totally connected to stuff energetically, and all forms began to morph. Like there were some points where it was so strong, it felt like I was in a kaleidoscope, and I couldn't tell if I was the floor, the ceiling, the walls. Like it felt like one energy moving around. Have you ever? Do you know what I mean when I talk about that? Have
No,
you
no,
ever?
yes, I definitely do. And actually, the reason why I got into this topic was because of DMT.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's easy to get that concept on
Yeah.
that state, on those states,
Yeah.
because it comes naturally. Like
Yeah.
it is that experience. I remember like not
Yeah.
understanding what time was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not knowing what things was. So, but looking at it from this state now, it seems like a memory of
yeah.
definitions, but I can't really remember exactly what it was like, unless I go into the end. So like
Yeah.
there's that division, and maybe like the non-enthogenic brain doesn't have as much the capability to get that, or to get as easily into that.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you're saying.
And I sense that you most probably know it beyond a memory, is in a way. Like so, when it's talked about, it's not just a memory. There's something inside your body that responds as well. Like there's like when you have these types of experiences, like on something like DMT, like there's something that's known that isn't really a memory, but that's hard to describe as well, because then when we talk about it, it comes from the memory. But basically, what I mean by energy is that what happens, and this is really amazing because I never thought this was possible, even though I'd had lots of energetic shifts, is that an energetic shift happens where you you are no longer a small body. You kind of like grow. Like, have you ever seen Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
I sometimes used to feel like a way of describing it was like I suddenly felt like the Marshmallow Man. You remember? Is it the Marshmallow Man? Like at the end, like that huge, like
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I
like
understand.
it's an illusion that you are separate from everything. And I felt like I got blown up, but it's not a personal thing that belongs to Lisa. It's like something so deep that was already there came forward, or like a lens focused on that. Like it was so focused on something small and finite called Lisa, and then it stopped being focused on that, and then this bigness was known. This that you are everything, and that's what I mean by energetic, and that's what I mean by it totally not being personal. So even though that energy changed Lisa, it wasn't actually about Lisa. It was like a change of focus from being Lisa to not being Lisa. And then when that sort of blowing up happens, where you stop being confined to this body, it's like a deep knowing that's not intellectual, that who you are is not a thing and all things at the same time. And it's really impersonal. You don't do it. That part of you is not you, but it's always been you. And that's what I mean by the energy part of it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's like really an energetic thing, and the things that I can best describe it to is sort of like similar to when you take hallucinogenics, like, but not as strong as that. Like, so you can't have it as strong as that. So if you totally disidentify with the body, you no longer function in this world anymore. You most probably die if you totally disidentify, or you most probably will die, like it's, or end up in a hospital, because it's so there has to be some sort of thing that keeps you in the relating to the body, but it is this energetic shift where it changes gear from being a person to not a person. That sounds
That
really like elusive to the person, and I really
no,
like, wow.
that actually makes quite a bit of sense. And for those that haven't had that experience, I think that maybe like stuff like lucid dreaming can get you really close to it, or
Yeah,
even if you don't want
yeah,
to have it, or like you're against it in some way. But
yeah,
like those shifts from like waking to sleeping to REM,
yeah,
they tend to be conducive of those sort of states where that are similar. I'm not saying that they're
yeah,
exactly the same, but
yeah,
they're very similar to what describing. And when you use that example, uh, it does make more sense because and that's why I wanted to ask you, just because in my mind and the character's mind it's just saying, okay, so energy is like, like the electrons, like electricity. So like what does she mean when she says like it's like the mind? So it's not the brain, it's like the energy in the brain. So like the synapses connecting. So I was trying to get it that way, but now that you mentioned those experiences, it clicks. It makes sense what you've been saying all along. Like, oh, it's that magic. So it's like it gets closer to that kind of vision, because I
yeah,
do also I have also sense that oneness, or like, yeah, just a strong feeling of oneness. Not like saying like I am one with everything and one, but like the actual feeling of it during DMT. But like I just remember feeling that I'm not feeling it at this exact moment, and but thinking about that experience back then, and then tying that to whenever you say energetic or magic, it, it makes sense. It connects. So I think that's a really really good example.
yeah. I think this is why people sometimes get a bit addicted to certain drugs. Like maybe
Yeah.
even I've never taken like heroin, or I've only really taken hallucinogenics. And but I can imagine those other drugs have those types of experience. Like I've heard people talk about MDMA that really opens the heart, because there is this heart element to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it does gonna have to be more towards the hallucination side, because Well, MDMA is also a
Yeah.
little bit hallucinogenic,
Oh yeah, I have
but
actually taken one drug that's not an hallucinogenic. Actually, I told a porky. Sometimes I forget these things when I'm talking. I have, yeah, yeah, and that wasn't so much like it. That was quite different from
no, yeah,
hallucinogenics. Yeah,
it is quite different. And honestly, I'm actually kind of excited to be talking to you because when I first started like getting into this topic, like I was been watching your videos or like listening while doing my stuff like non-stop, and I did get to like that kind of state of just like not caring, and and people, and I would tell people like, do you prefer, or they would ask me like, do you prefer this or that, and I would be like, oh, it's all the same, it's all the same. And I would go buying clothes with people and they were like, oh, which one do you like? And I was like, oh, it's all the same. And it kind of gets annoying for people because like, well, you gotta pick one because like, like, what do you like? Because I have that idea. But for me, like after a while, it just kind of like, be, because the description sounded so much what I experienced, it kind of just like went down like straight to hedonism and just
yeah,
like repeatedly, because he said, well, there is no me, so like like the consequences are not me,
yeah,
and blah blah. And yeah, and just a lot of hallucinogenics again, but it kind of circled back, and it kind of stopped by itself. So
yeah.
maybe it is like something what you said, that 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 you're afraid that if you let go, let control, like things that you don't want to happen might happen. And it does seem to happen because when the body has its desires and stuff, and when you're not like holding on and like grabbing the leash, it just kind of like runs wild. But
Yeah.
that kind of runs out, and it kind of just like comes back to like thinking
The
again.
middle
And
ground. Yeah,
yeah, and just kind of running out. I'm not saying like I had that experience, but I did have that like strong conviction that this was absolutely the truth, and that it was all there was, and like if there was no doubt in my mind that this was how things were. And so that's what kind of happened, and it just kind of like the body just like was on autopilot, and consequences will happen, uh, due to my choices. But I would just be like, well, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? It is what it is, and just kind of keep on going. But
yeah,
it does kind of calm down after a while. So like, if the people that are listening are like worried, like, oh, if I do let go, like, what am I gonna do? Like, what if I don't do my responsibilities, and what is gonna happen? It kind of takes care of itself. It kind of just
yeah,
like
yeah,
circles
yeah,
around. So
yeah,
not to be too
yeah.
worried about that. Anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate
With
that.
pleasure. With pleasure. It was lovely speaking with you. Yeah.
You too. Have a good one.
Thank you, and you. Bye.
Bye bye.